Welcome to another episode of Snap Raise Live. We are here with MLB All-Star and Seattle Mariners outfielder Mitch Haniger. And this is part of our ongoing commitment to helping group leaders with their fundraising, but then also in this time of COVID-19, also finding solutions, ways to advance their teams and their players, and just try and get better every single day. And so, Mitch, we appreciate you joining us, and thank you for taking time out of your day to jump on here with us.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We had to work around some of the training and the physical therapy and all the commitments you've got in trying to keep yourself ready for the season. So I guess that's probably a good place to start. You know, what does the day-to-day look like for you now, and how are you priming yourself for the potential return to baseball?
I'm just doing a lot of physical therapy, just recovering from 2 surgeries. So still working on strengthening my back and core, and trying to progress with that and move on through the next step, which will probably be the strengthening phase and getting back into lifting. So been doing physical therapy 5 days a week, and other than that, just trying to read, enjoy my downtime with my wife, and hopefully start seeing some more family here soon as restrictions start opening up, and just trying to make the most of this downtime and get better in the mental game, get better at learning, and focusing on different areas that I can improve during this time where there's no baseball.
Yeah, completely understand that, and want our attendees to know that they can submit questions through the GoToWebinar control panel on the side. We'll do our best to get to as many of them as we can. But your career journey, as it is for most professional baseball players, was a grind, and it takes a lot of discipline, determination, good fortune, things inside of your control and things outside of your control. And so your return from injury is a shortened version of that, but also requires similar mental fortitude and everything. So I guess what we'll start with breaking down your journey from college, being a superstar in the Big West at Cal Poly SLO, and then we can talk about maybe where your return from injury fits in there. So if you wouldn't mind stretching out on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, grew up in San Jose, California. Went to Cal Poly. I was there for 3 years. Ended up getting drafted out of high school, but chose to go to Cal Poly. I don't think I was really ready at the time, looking back on it. And went to Cal Poly, had a really good coaching staff there. It helped me develop a lot as a player and a person, and got a lot better. Ended up getting drafted by the Brewers, signed with the Brewers in 2012, played them for like 2.5 seasons, and then got traded to the Diamondbacks. And then kind of went through some stuff with the Diamondbacks where old GM traded for me, got let go, then new GM came in, and then I went to not really playing. Like, went from being a prospect to a guy that was just kind of sitting the bench, and kind of got into a lot of the more mindset stuff. Then I've always been interested in that stuff throughout my career, but got into that, really into the mindset stuff then, controlling what you can control, focusing on that type of stuff. And ended up going down a level, being sent down a level to get more playing time, because I knew if I could, show what I was worth, show how good I was, I believed that it would have paved my way to the big leagues. And luckily enough, they sent me down, and that's exactly what happened. And ended up making my debut with the Diamondbacks in 2016, and then getting traded to the Seattle Mariners that offseason, and been with the Mariners ever since. So this will be my 4th season with the Mariners.
You talked about the mindset and really betting on yourself and asking to go down to get the opportunity to play more. And people don't understand the business element of sports. It happens in baseball like it happens everywhere else, where if people don't have ownership in your success, or you're not their guy, or you didn't select them, or they don't like you, then the cream doesn't always necessarily rise to the top. Sometimes it sits suppressed, and so you were able to fix your approach to that. Where did that inspiration come from, and what specifically did you do to recognize that you had to shift the way that you looked at your predicament?
I'm a huge fan of like self-improvement. I love listening to podcasts, reading books, trying to just get better in that area, because I think with baseball in general, even with life, it's very important, but I think even more so with sports, if you want to be a high level performer, I think you need to really work on your mental game and make sure you're really strong in that area, and always be looking to improve on that, because you can always get a little bit better here and there, or always sharpen up certain parts of your game. So I would say just kind of always being a learner. And the baseball has always taught me that, you can do everything, especially hitting, you can do everything right and not be successful. You can line out 4 times and you're 0 for 4. And on paper, that's a terrible day. But in reality, you did everything you could do 4 times and, you had bad luck. So I've kind of taken that approach a little bit into life. And then I'm a huge fan of like stoicism, and I love Ryan Holiday's books, and kind of understanding that an obstacle doesn't necessarily have to be something that's negative, and you can choose to look at it in a positive light. So I've had a lot of crazy injuries and a lot of big setbacks throughout my career, throughout with injuries, with stuff off the field, with everything. So I've always kind of, even if it's a little bit BS at the time, I kind of look at it like, this is going to be the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I try to like focus on that. So even with, I had surgery in the end of January, and then 2 weeks later I had back surgery, and that kind of rose up from previous injuries early, like in the middle into late of last year. And I chose to look at it like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm going to come back even stronger. And I may have not had believed that the whole entire time, but as soon you keep saying that to yourself and reinforcing that, and you start to believe it, and then you actually start to see things that are happening to you that are whether you're learning and growing and getting better, and you have to choose to see that side of things, and I think it makes a big difference.
With these past 2 injuries, how are you framing them? I would say that obviously the season starting later, or coronavirus and people not being able to train as well, is perhaps allowing you a benefit that would be denied you otherwise. But what has been your take and your spin and your outlook on your mental approach to your rehabilitation, and then what the future holds for you this coming year, hopefully?
Yeah, just that I'm going to come back stronger and better than ever, and it's allowed me to develop better relationships with people around me. I've had more time to spend on other things, especially that with relationship with my wife, relationship with family, trying to get better at the mental game. Like I said, that's a constant improvement I'm looking to make, and I think I've came a long ways. Not that I was in a bad place a year ago or 2 years ago, but I think it's just constantly growing and trying to evolve and get better, as well as just kind of trying to lift other guys up around me, and trying to. It's really easy to get too focused on yourself in this game, or in life in general. So I'm just trying to focus on bringing other people up and trying to be that support for some guys who might need it, and be there for my friends.
You mentioned that you thought that you weren't ready to play professional baseball when you graduated high school, and so you elected to go to college, and then you very quickly had success as the Big West Conference freshman of the year, and then also a couple years later as the player of the year in the conference. You weren't ready. How? Clearly you were ready physically. Do you think that there was something deficient, or that the success that you had was manifested by the fact that you actually chose the course of going to college versus going to pros? Because I think that's a dilemma facing a lot of talented high school baseball players. Do I go to the pros or do I go to college? And you obviously chose to go to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So elaborate on that if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, I don't think I was ready physically. I think professional baseball can, you're in the minor leagues, you're not playing against the best in the world, but ultimately at the big league level, you're playing against the best competition in the world. And I think at that time I was, out of high school, I wasn't as strong as I could be, and physically, mentally, everything. So I think going to college was really good, and playing for a really good college coach who taught me a lot about the game and about mindset, about a ton of other things really helped. That's where I feel like if you have an opportunity to play for a really good college coach, in my opinion, I felt that going to school was the better option than going to professional baseball. And I think I had more development in those 3 years in college than I would have had at the professional level for if I were to sign out of high school.
What were once you finished your collegiate career and were drafted in the Brewers organization? We'll get a chance to talk to one of your former teammates from the Brewers organization later on here, a friend of yours, Greg Hopkins, who works for Snap Rays. But you got a chance to experience what the minor leagues was like, and so when you got there, you felt like you were much better equipped to endure the physical struggles and the difficulties that confronted you. And still it took it was a circuitous path, but what I guess what did the minor leagues teach you most about yourself, and and why is it perhaps so necessary for every player to go through the minor leagues to get to the bigs?
I mean, probably the biggest thing is how to deal with failure, how to, you're meeting guys from all walks of different life. And I think, for me at Cal Poly, most of the guys were from California. Most of the guys were in state. I grew up with some of them. So everybody was kind of cut from the same cloth. There's different characters and different personalities and of sorts. But I think in professional baseball, you're playing with guys from all around the world. And you're exposed to a lot different cultures, different upbringing, guys from all across the United States, Latin America, sometimes Japanese players, Chinese Taipei players. You got a whole bunch of different, guys coming from different continents playing on one team. And that taught me a lot, just learning different culture and learning how to understand someone else that come from a completely different walk of life, that they might have a completely different outlook than you do. And that was definitely pretty humbling. And a lot of stuff that I was really grateful to go to a good college. I was really grateful to sign and play minor league baseball. And it's also, like you said, it's a business too. And you get exposed to that very early with, you have some friends that you get really close with, they get traded or released. And, and sometimes they get released and you feel like they're a really good player, and you scratch your head and you wonder why. Some guys get released while other guys get called up, and there's some politics that go into it. It's a business, so there's certain guys that want to see their draft picks follow through and their guys push forward throughout the system, and that's a big step, switching from college or high school into the professional world. Because in college and in high school, not that I don't play to have fun now. I love the game and I love to have fun, but there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it that you don't really get exposed to until you're at the professional level.
Yeah, I played college football at University of San Diego, and my quarterback went to the NFL and got stuck as a backup, and the owner said that he wouldn't trade him for a king's ransom. And so that's what his career was for a few years, was just being an NFL backup, because they have the financial rights to be able to do that. So you talked about playing with players from all walks of life, and I would completely be remiss if I didn't ask you what it's like to play with Ichiro.
Awesome. I mean, that guy kind of epitomizes what I believe a professional baseball player should be. Just so much attention to detail, and so focused, so prepared, and just takes it very seriously. And although we all really love to play the game and we have a lot of fun doing it, it is a job, and you need to go home every night and make sure and set yourself up for the next day and set yourself up for success when, getting a good night's sleep, making sure you're eating right, you're drinking plenty of water. Things like this really do affect your performance. So being your job, in my opinion, you need to do those things. Those aren't just you shouldn't be wishy-washy on those types of things. If you really want to be successful and put the best product, being yourself, out on the field to help your teammates, and as well as give the fans something to watch, that's what he truly believed in. That every day he would go out there and give his best, behind the scenes as well as on the field for the fans. And I love that mindset and kind of everything that Ichiro stands for.
He takes extra special care of his bats because he hopes that his bats take care of him. Do you have a similar philosophy on bat maintenance?
No, but I do probably take care of my bats a lot more than most guys do. I weigh them. I go through each one when they come in the box, and I kind of pick out ones that I like, and then some that I don't like. And yeah, I'm definitely picky with bats, and I think that matters. It's your tool. So having a good feel and knowing what's right for you, I think is really important.
Sure, I get that. All of our headquarters people and our reps out in the field really appreciate you joining us today. So I want to say thank you and make sure that you're aware of that. And you mentioned evaluating your performance and thinking about it as a job. And I faced in high school a #1 overall pick, first pick, Matt Bush. And I was overmatched every time, and I wasn't able to ever, solve the riddle. And he eventually ended up getting to the major leagues. And so I guess when you face a guy like Aroldis Chapman or people who are especially adept at pitching, What is it that you're doing? How is it that you're preparing and then, tweaking your approach to solve these really difficult pitchers, if they're great on a specific night or if they're terrific in general?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of them in the game, especially nowadays with guys throwing harder and harder every year. I mean, first thing is just understanding hitting is very difficult. And what I've kind of told some of the younger guys on our team that, any given night, the best player in the league can get dominated by one of the worst pitchers in the league and vice versa. So that's what's so cool. And what I like so much about baseball is it's so unpredictable. You never know who's going to win. There's so many variables. So I think understanding that and going into those at bats, and that does not mean I'm, okay with getting out and I'm okay with, failing, but I just try to look at it like I'm going to learn from those things. When I'm going in to face a guy like Aroldis Chapman or someone like that, I would just focus on slowing my breath down and trying to be early, because when the guy's throwing, low hundreds, it's definitely tough to react, and your swing decisions have to be spot on. So definitely with him, just trying to focus on breathing and getting my timing right and being early at the plate.
I would be remiss again if I didn't mention the fact that the Seattle Mariners ballpark, which has undergone a couple name changes, is a very difficult ballpark to hit home runs at, and you have been especially proficient in doing that. If you had to attribute your power to any one thing or a couple of things, how is it that you think that you're able to hit so well for power in particular, especially at a big ballpark?
Yeah, definitely. Safeco can be tough, or T-Mobile now, especially with the weather. Cold weather doesn't usually favor hitters throughout the years, but just trying to keep it simple at the plate. And I think my powers kind of showed up later throughout my career. I'd say early on in the minor leagues, I wasn't known for power, and I kind of retooled my swing during the 2015 season and that off season as well, and just allowed me. I read a book online actually that was about swing mechanics that really kind of changed my kind of light bulbs went off in my head on what I had been doing and focusing on the whole time was wrong, and that this shed light on a new philosophy or a new way to think about hitting and trying to keep your barrel in the zone for a really long period of time. And it just kind of combated a lot of the long-standing hitting mechanics and hitting cues that a lot of coaches would give little league players and players in high school, and I mean even some at the professional level. And it kind of just made me think about things in a different way, and I ended up really working for me. And I was kind of thankful that I came across that book and then worked with a really good hitting coach that year to help me kind of put it all in place.
So part one, what's the name and author of the book so people can find that, please? And then part two would be, how do you get coaches to believe you in this new process that you wanted to create for yourself when they're the hitting coach and they're thought to be the gurus? What did that give and take look like?
Yeah, so the book, it was an ebook by Bobby Tewksbury. I forget the title of the book. It was just on swing mechanics. I'm pretty sure he only has one online. But hitting coach from the Northeast, I want to say Boston area. And he had worked with a couple of professional players and they've had success. And so they kind of credited it to him. And I came across his stuff through a couple of teammates of mine when I was riding a bus one day. And then I would say how to answer that question, well, to me, it's if you come in with a plan and you can kind of prove what you're saying, or you've done your research, you've done your homework, and you believe in that this fix or this new way of thinking or new whatever it may be, workout regime, hitting routine, new mechanics that you believe will help you. If you've done your homework and you can articulate that and prove that, and kind of and there's always going to be people that don't believe you, or they don't think that you're correct, or they don't think that it's going to work. I've had plenty of those people around me, but I've always been confident, and I've always had belief in what I was doing, that I was on the right path, that what I was doing was going to work. And I think I would never look for external confidence from other people. And then you kind of surround yourself by people who do believe in you, or you hire a hitting coach who believes in the same philosophy or can help you put those pieces of the puzzle together. So I went to a hitting coach named Matt Lyle, who's in the Bay Area, 2015 and going into 16. And I told him, this is what I believe in. This is what I want to fix. I need your help and your experience to help me put all these things together. I know what I want the finished product to look like, but I'm having trouble getting there. And so then he taught me, all of his tricks and all of his things that he believed would get me in better positions and what I could do differently or what I could do more of. And it worked out really well.
I see Elite Swing Mechanics book, Tewksbury Hitting. So that's, and I think you can go to tewkshifting.com, tewkshitting.com, sorry. So you bring up an interesting point, and I want to go back to that because you had said that you've got to have confidence and you've got to be resolute and overcome failures and doubters and people who might be skeptical of you. But at the same time, you're online looking for an ebook about how to change your swing. So how do you balance that confidence in yourself and then your belief in your process, knowing that you're going things the right way, but then also trying to discover more and how to evolve and make yourself better? Because it's what Tiger Woods was doing. He was winning majors and still trying to figure out, how do I build this sustainably? So I guess maybe can you speak to that?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something last year. Before I got injured, I felt like I wasn't performing as well as I should have, and I was kind of struggling with my hitting. And I felt like I fell into kind of what Tiger had going on, where he was always kind of searching. And I think it's important to have some people around you that you really trust and that their opinions really matter to you. So when you read something new, you can vet it out to them and see what they think. And as well as the more I've learned about hitting, the more I've learned about my body and swing mechanics and just the biometrics, the biomechanics of the body in general, I've been able to read or look at certain things and kind of be like, yeah, that's not for me, or I don't believe that will work. Whereas when I was early on, I didn't really have that lens per se to see through some of the stuff that I didn't believe would help me. But I think the more you get older and the more you're trying to learn, you'll be able to kind of turn away some of the bad stuff and accept some of the good stuff. And I think that just comes along with experience and having like that growth mindset where you're always trying to learn, but at the same time you're staying process oriented and you're not getting attached to the results of things. But I think that's definitely an issue for players, especially for myself, of always looking for something new. And I think now where I'm at is I kind of look more to cut out things that might be a little bit of filler and focus on the nuts and bolts of things. And that way it keeps it simpler for me. And I focus on the big main things that I believe will help me and try to kind of put the blinders on for the other stuff.
I guess, what is your core belief in being able to hit for power and being able to be successful at the plate? You said that you've shifted that and it's different than what's taught in some little leagues and some high schools. So I guess, how does what you do right now differ most maybe from what you were taught growing up, and maybe explain some of the logic that's rooted in it?
Yeah, I would say over the last 3 to 5 years, there's been a lot of new stuff coming out, especially with the technology with hitting, with different tools you can use. But kind of before this technology came out, it was just what Bobby Tewksbury would describe in his book is matching pitch planes. And what he would describe is the pitch is coming in, and this is not a new concept. This is something that Ted Williams was like very adamant about. And I think his book he wrote was called The Art of Hitting, but don't quote me on that. But the pitch is coming down at a slow decline. It's not coming in flat. It's coming at a slow decline. And how I was taught, or the cues I was always given when I was younger, were take your knob to the ball, swing down, stay on top. And for me, maybe those cues weren't the best because I had a really steep swing. So when you're trying to hit a baseball and the pitch is coming in at this angle and you're swinging down, there's a very small margin for error, as opposed to pitches coming down and you're swinging level or even slightly up, your barrel is in the zone for much longer. And that's what the best hitters do. It's very hard to be on time for every single pitch at multiple different speeds throughout a season or throughout even one game. So the longer your barrel is in this point of contact, slightly working uphill, your better chances to make solid contact. And when you're working down too much, your barrel doesn't get into the zone until way out front, and then it's really in and out of the zone quickly. And so in Bobby Tewksbury's book, he talks about a lot of the different swing flaws that are common and kind of what to do to fix them. So what I focused on was getting my barrel in the zone earlier, kind of the barrel working off my back shoulder as opposed to my hands coming down across my face. And that allowed me to get in the zone earlier. And now my barrel was kind of working around my body as opposed to in front of my body. And that, in my opinion, led to more power. I felt like I've always had good power, especially to the pull side. But until I made that adjustment, now my consistency went up. My power has never exploded in the last 3-5 years, but my consistency to drive the ball has. So it's resulted in more power numbers, more home runs, but my ability to drive the ball further has not, I wouldn't say has gotten much better.
Gotcha. The Science of Hitting is the Ted Williams book, so just want to make sure people can access those resources. And so you've illustrated and documented your ability to hit for power more consistently. And a question from Jason Mattingly says, what was your favorite memory from All-Star Weekend, which is, partially a byproduct of your ability to hit so well. So what fond memories do you have from that in 2018?
Probably just being there and having my family out and some friends out there, and just taking the field and being announced as an All-Star. That was kind of a dream come true, and pretty cool experience, and hope to be back there someday soon.
Do you have ultra lofty goals for yourself now that you've achieved that? Is there is there a medium term or long term goal that you have for yourself that's really audacious?
I would say I never, growing up, I thought about making my debut and getting to the big leagues, and one of my two goals I've always had were to be a Major League All-Star and to win a World Series. Now, having gone through a lot of different injuries and surgeries, one of my biggest goal is to still win a World Series, but my biggest goal is to get back to the All-Star game. That would mean a lot to me.
Spencer Merwin wants to know when you're going to win a World Series, but I know that you're not an oracle that way, so we'll hope for this year, and would love for you to be able to check both of those things off.
Yeah.
Mike Merwin from Seattle asks, who inspires you the most in the world of sports, and why? A lot of people draw inspiration from different sources. Yeah. I played for Jim Harbaugh, and so I got a chance to see a lot of people. I coached at Stanford with Andrew Luck, and so some really great athletes that way. I guess what you talked about Ichiro earlier. Who inspires you and why?
A ton. So one thing that I've always liked to do is just watch sporting events and watch interviews with guys, just to kind of pick up on things. And I think I'm a huge believer that success leaves clues. That's why I try to do a lot of reading on successful people from a multitude of different avenues and professions. But I would say in sports, definitely Ichiro. Big Tom Brady fan, just from everything he's done, being a 6th-round draft pick, making it all the way up to making to the NFL and sticking around for so long, being so good, winning 6 Super Bowls. That's huge. And, big fan of Dustin Pedroia as well. Michael Jordan, Steph Curry. The list goes on. And Phil Mickelson too, Tiger Woods. I think there's a lot of really good athletes in a lot of different sports, and definitely pay attention and try to learn from what they say, and take in what they say, try to learn from it, and see if you can apply it to your own game. That's something that I've always done and want to keep doing.
You mentioned Mickelson and Woods. Did you watch the match, and are you a good golfer?
Terrible golfer. Once I'm done playing, I'm looking to get better at that. No, I didn't watch it. I need to. I can't remember what I was doing that day, but I didn't get to watch it. I don't watch a lot of TV.
I got you. Well, I'd like to bring on Greg Hopkins, a former teammate of yours, to talk about the journey. And obviously you're in the majors now, but you guys toiled down there in the Brewers organization for a few years. And so, I want to hear from him, what he thought made you successful. And you guys can maybe share some stories But as we get Greg on here, what were your days like in the Milwaukee Brewers organization down there in the low minors?
Hey guys, how we doing?
Good. How are you, Greg?
Good to see you, Hanny. Thanks for jumping on, and JT. Love that you're picking his brain. It's fun to see his career take off. Got a few. I think we had 3 between Wisconsin, Brevard, and the last year in Huntsville. I was making a joke earlier with a few buddies. I think I still owe you gas money for driving me to the park every day. So I appreciate that, man. I'll get you back someday. But no, Hanny, his work ethic. I think what was awesome about Handy being a high round draft pick, there's a lot of pressure, coming into an organization. Maybe you can talk about that here in a bit. I'm sure JT covered it a bit, but just seeing how you handled yourself, from the get-go and just going about your business, being a team guy. I think that's so important. It doesn't go unnoticed. And, at the end of the day, I know myself, I was a mid-round guy, nothing, someone of your caliber coming in and being as humble as you are, man, it's been fun to watch you, your career take off. So if you can talk about that, just kind of being a high round draft pick, man, that's there's a lot to say about that in itself, and how you go about your business and still, work to better yourself, but also be a team player.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I've always just tried to focus on getting better, and I think looking back, I've always been really hard on myself. So I think looking back, I if I had to try to change one thing about my career, I would say try to focus on guys around me a little bit more. I think I've done a pretty good job of that, but I want to say really trying to focus on making guys better around me as far as talking to them about certain situations or certain things and trying to help them in that sense. Not that I have anything figured out, but I think I've always done a good job of kind of leading by example, and that's where I've always focused on is if I do the right thing and I come to the field every day, prepare to win, try to get better. I'm a big believer that bleeds off on other people, and if you have a lot of those guys with that similar mindset, I think that's where really good teams develop, and that's how you create a winning atmosphere. But I think also being humble is a big part of it, and just being there for your teammates and talking to them, and understanding this game is extremely difficult. And so as far as life goes too, there's a lot of difficult things that people go through that can affect their performance on and off the field. So being there for each other and just, I think that's a huge part, and that makes a big difference.
Greg, you've got to have some fond memories from your time playing with Mitch. Do you have any a couple stories or memories that you might want to share? Because these are tough to be unearthed. It's tough to find out about these once guys are in the big league. So any thoughts, or he made a play, he did a thing, a funny road trip? I mean, there's got to be something in there that you can think of to bring up, and you probably got Mitch sweating a little bit.
Call of Duty in our old apartment.
I know. No, you know what? I'll give it to Mitch, man. He was he took care of business off the field as well. But if I recall, man, I think just playing NHL, kind of finding different healthy outlets after getting home from the park. I mean, those days are long, man. You get to the field for early work, 11, 12 o'clock latest, and you're there all day prepping for the game. The only thing I'd recommend for Mitch to work on is his NHL game. I haven't played in about 5 or 6 years, but no, we definitely had some good and nothing. I mean, I'm sure Mitch has got a few under the carpet, but he's been a class act all the way. So.
Well, Mitch, maybe you can relive some of the.
I wanted to ask you, man.
Go ahead, Greg. Sorry, you're skipping a little bit on us.
Go ahead, JT. Sorry.
No. You're a
No,
guest.
go ahead. I'm a little. There we go. No, I appreciate it, JT. Going back to the baseball side of things, though, Mitch. I know you guys covered making sure you went to play college ball and whatnot, and just some recommendations for guys that aspire to play at a high level, whether that's college ball, pro ball. Like, at what level did you feel like you belonged? Like, at each level, did you feel like you kind of continued to level up? Like once you got the college ball and you were around a good group of guys, once you got the pro ball, like, did you feel like you kind of leveled up as you progressed through your career?
Yeah, I would say when I look back on high school, college, early professional career, even in the big leagues, I never felt like I was like head and shoulders above anyone. I always felt like the game was difficult for me, and I always had to work really hard to get better, just to kind of stay with the course, and then hopefully get better and progress further and further. But I think as I learned more about like the mental side of stuff and having a growth mindset and always believing that you can control everything with as far as your mental game goes, but as far as like your physical game and how you play, you can always get better. And putting forth the effort and trying to get better on a daily basis, if you do that over time, you're going to get really good. And just having consistency, I think, is a really big it's really important. Being consistent with your work ethic and just trying to improve, always constantly trying to improve. And I think throughout my career, I've gone a little bit extreme with that, where, like we talked about earlier, I've always been, there's been times where I've searched a little too much, but in the past, it's always helped me so much. Always trying to get better and look for new avenues to improve has been really helpful. And I think to give advice to a younger player, whether you're high school, college, minor leagues, or even a young big leaguer, I think if you want to be kind of extraordinary, or you want to get to the major league level or the professional level, you have to set yourself apart from everyone else. So you can't just go to your practices, and then once they end, you can't just go home and feel that was enough. I think you have to go the extra mile to get better. And what you do with your free time really can help you on the field. And I love playing and being active. So for me, that's easy. I love to work out. I love to hit. I love to throw. I love to do these things. And some guys might view that as a chore. So for me, I guess I'm blessed where those things are fun for me, and I love to put more time and more effort into them. But yeah, I think that's a huge thing, is just trying to go above and beyond what's expected of you to really set yourself apart.
Did your environment cater to that? I mean, were your parents inspiring that work ethic and that attitude, or siblings? I mean, where did you get that commitment? Because it is unique, and you recognize that so many other people do view it as a chore and an obligation, and you seem to really relish that.
Yeah, I think there's a multitude of different things. I've always I would say I hate losing more than I love winning. So
Same.
I'm extremely competitive. I had an older brother who's really good at sports and would always, kill me on the ping pong table, video games, outside playing wiffle ball, everything. So I hated that feeling of losing, and I always couldn't wait to beat him. So it made me really competitive, and I always had that drive. And I always knew that, if I put more work in, ultimately I go into the next match, the next game, the next day feeling more confident. I think you get your confidence from the work you put in your preparation. So those are really big for me. And then, my parents always taught me you can do anything as long as you, put your mind to it and you go at it 100%, you leave everything on the table. My grandparents came over from Hungary. My grandma's Greek and my grandpa's Hungarian, and they were immigrants to this country. And my grandpa made it up, and he was very successful, and he kind of instilled in us at a young age, you have to work hard for what you want, and to kind of go full force. And this may not be the best advice to give like a high school kid or a young kid, but I've always kind of had all my eggs in one basket, and that I'm not advocating you to not study. That's extremely important. You should make sure, because that stuff will help you on the field. The smarter you can be, the more it's going to help your performance. And I'm a big fan of going to college, big fan of studying and trying to improve. But for me, I've always kind of said, like, I want to play baseball and this is it. And I've had a lot of people throughout my life say, well, you should think about something else, or, are you sure? Like, the chances of you making it are very slim. Like, especially nowadays, you grow up with a lot of that talk, and being able to filter it. And I've always had that mindset that's like, I'm going to prove you wrong. Like, you don't know who I am. Like, I'm going to prove you wrong. You don't know where I come from. Like, and I've always loved that underdog mentality.
And Greg and I think we both identify with that. So I want us both to speak on it. I'll start, and then Greg, I'm going to kick it to you. But I tried out for the NFL, the CFL, the UFL. I mean, you name it. And I put all of my eggs in that basket. It took me too long because I didn't believe it soon enough. I wish that I'd have done it my entire life. And I think that there's a narrative out there that people tell you, don't put your eggs all in one basket. And the counter to that is put all your eggs in that basket and watch that basket, and make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And so when you think about society, people say good morning. Well, why not have a great morning? People say it is what it is. Well, it is what you make it. So there are other ways to look at it. And so really for me, when I was trying to play professional football, I just obsessed over it. And what you said, I wrote down in my notes when you said it, you get the confidence from the work that you put in. I mean, that is the absolute fact. And so I love that. And Greg, I wonder what you have to say about your professional pursuits and what you found, what you discovered about yourself, and what you found to be the most true in your aspiration to become a professional.
Yeah, I appreciate it, JT. And Mitch, you hit it on the nose, man. I think too, when you quote unquote put all your eggs in one basket, you're just setting yourself up for down the road, wherever that may be, right? So that mentality that you have with your current pursuit is only gonna, lead to the next pursuit whenever that time may come. So, there's a lot of value in that. And funny story going back to my days in college at St. John's. I didn't play with him, but Craig Hansen, former pitcher with the Red Sox, had a good little run, dealt with an injury. But I remember a story about Craig. This was one of our alumni days. He was asked to do a presentation to incoming freshmen about having a plan B, and he said he wouldn't do it. When asked why, he said, I don't believe in plan B. Sorry, I can't help you there. So I love that, man. That's awesome. We're super proud of you. We love seeing you, have so much success on the field, man. And, I can't thank you enough for coming on here too, helping out, and sharing the knowledge, man. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thank you. I think like a really powerful thing I read, it's like a Stoic thing, is they say like burn the ships, and I can't remember what war it is, but pulled up onto a beach, and to show their enemy that they weren't going to back down, they burnt their ships, proving that like we're staying here, we're fighting to the end. And that's just a huge, powerful message. And I think like, yeah, I'm a huge fan of not having a plan B, because I think that just takes you away from the plan A, right? And another thing with confidence, like you said, for me is knowing that, when baseball ends, I'll work hard and I'll figure out whatever the next chapter of my life will be. And I know that I'll go above and beyond with work ethic and understand that I can learn anything that, I put my mind to. And I'm confident that I have the ability to figure it out. And for now, and hopefully for a long time, all my eggs are in the basket of baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like and sounds like they will be. I love what you're saying. We've got a couple questions here. They'll be a little bit more off the wall. Lester Asuncion says, do you play MLB The Show much? What are your thoughts on your 78 rating? My brother works for them and has input on the stats.
Yeah, dude, I don't play much, but one of my friends sent me like my speed rating, and it's like a 40 something, and I don't know much about video games, but that sounds pretty bad. So text your friend and say what's up with that.
Yeah,
I'm not a birder, but I'm pretty fast. I'm not terrible.
Okay. Juan Toro from North Carolina says, thanks for your time. What has been your favorite field or stadium atmosphere? And we'll say road because you play in Seattle all the time, but what's your favorite road?
I would say, it changes a lot, but I would say San Francisco Giants, because I grew up watching games there when I was younger. So it's pretty cool to be in the dugout there and actually play a game there. Growing up a Giants fan, so that was pretty cool.
Got another question from Josh Clark in North Carolina, who says, what do you do when you feel your swing is getting long? What do you do to help identify pitches?
What I do to help identify pitches, for me, if I'm not picking up the ball well, I'm generally worrying about my swing too much, or I'm late So when you're late, your head tends to move. So I would just focus on being quieter, starting earlier, but being more under control. And I think that will really help your pitch recognition, as well as maybe standing in on some teammates' bullpens and just trying to recognize pitches as you stand in without the intent to swing, but you're just tracking the ball.
Right on. Greg, I want to give you the last question here and want to make sure that we appreciate you for being on here. So if you can think of another one, be more than happy to have you ask it, because you facilitated getting Mitch here, and we've got a lot of love for the Seattle and California connections here. So you got a question for Mitch? You can shoot it at him and help me do my job better.
No, you're doing fantastic, JT. You may have asked this already. I was having a little connection issues early on. I wish Haniger would do a Brent Suter impersonation. If you don't know Brent Suter, Milwaukee Brewers pitcher. We played minor league ball in the same system coming up, but guy is just one of the best teammates around as well. But leading into that, I just wanted to ask you, favorite teammates, best teammates, and maybe one story, to go along with that would be awesome, Mitch.
Don't mess this up, Mitch. There's only one right answer. It's just, the guy.
No pressure. No pressure. Favorite big league teammate. How about that?
That's what we call it, Greg Hopkins. That's one of my best teammates for sure. Looking back on the minor leagues, I would say Greg, living with him in Double-A, I was really struggling that year, so he was, really positive to be around. That helped me a ton, and definitely aspired to be like him with how he went about his business as well, and I think it helped me a ton. And we had a guy we played with too, Brent Dean. Remember Dino? When we were in 2013, he was on the Phantom DL, and in the minor leagues, they can put you on the disabled list. So now it's called the injured list, the IL, and you're not really hurt. In the big leagues, it doesn't work like that. You can't just fake some guy being injured. So he was on the injured list and not playing for maybe over a month. And that guy would come to the field early every day, work super hard, give guys haircuts, help guys with do anything to help his teammates. And I just thought that was awesome because, a lot of different people would be in that situation, sulking and not trying to get better, get unmotivated, try to bring other guys down. And instead, that guy was lifting up other people and helping his teammates get better. That was huge. That showed me a lot about his character and just kind of, aspire to be more like that as well.
Pro guys, favorite pro teammates?
I would say Seattle Kyle Seager's helped me a ton. Last couple of years, I was a rookie, or first full season in Seattle was in 17, and he was one of the guys that taught me a lot about the game and how to go about my business. And he's always been, a good voice of reason and someone who helps the young guys a ton and always looks out for his teammates. And I've learned a lot from him, and I'm really excited, kind of as I shift to be one of the more veteran players on the team, to take on that approach now and help younger players grow and develop, and also just kind of be there for guys, because it's a tough year, it's a long year, and there's a lot of struggle that goes into a baseball season. And sometimes even at the top, guys can get real down, there's a lot of pressure on you from fans, family, media, yourself, and just kind of being an outlet for guys can make a huge difference.
Well, you're going to have a lot of fans from Snap Rays and all of our reps and our customers and everything. Our coaches really appreciate you sharing this insight, and certainly we'll be sharing it with players, because some of this is tactical and executional, and some of those books that you shared are really great. If people want to run a fundraiser and they need help funding their program, they can visit www.snap-rays.com. And Greg can help you if you're down there in Florida, and we got plenty of people all over the country to help in person. We also run fundraisers remotely. So this has been a great webinar. It's been one of many from our Leaders and Legends series. Yesterday, we interviewed the women's field hockey coach from the University of Virginia, who's a Hall of Famer. And so, Mitch, you have been an all-star in more ways than one. You've been great for us, great for Major League Baseball and the Seattle Mariners, and we can't thank you enough. And actually tomorrow we're doing another webinar with Field Level, which is a company that helps pair high school coaches and high school athletes with college coaches. And given that the youth baseball season was canceled in most places this year, The recruiting's gotten a little upside down, and so they're going to help us navigate that. And we're looking forward to having that webinar at 12 o'clock tomorrow. But we can't thank you enough for what you did today, and you and Greg were absolutely awesome. So many, many thanks.
Yeah, thank you both for having me. This was awesome.
Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, JT, for hosting it. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
You bet. Awesome. All right. Well, stay safe, guys. Be well, and I look forward to future webinars going on. Have a great season, Mitch. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good one.